Hello, it is me once again, and now we're talking about the novel and a little bit about the comparison. Some things that the novel has that the movie has or hasn't, and the other way around. The first thing to collect about the novel is that it is 20 chapter long. It could be 21, but the editor, this is a fun fact, didn't wanted the last chapter to be on the novel, which I find very disappointing because the last chapter they say is when he actually like meets one of his recruits and talks about the future, and he's talking about his wife, and that's when he actually realizes that he needs to move on, and that's when he actually does it. So there's when, well, he stopped being ultra violent and he actually recovers himself. I don't believe about music. But well, the novel covers topics like how to stop with violence. Do killers have any rights, like decisions, or should they have like any decisions with their own fate or even with their own actions after making something like of that level? Novel doesn't go anywhere but the main plot, and I found that like very interesting. Like it doesn't have like subtopics or anything that takes time away from neither the movie neither the novel, so it is okay. So I find that very interesting. Anthony Burgess focuses on the psychology of his characters, not about time and action. Like instead of having a lot of scenes, Anthony Burgess like realized that it isn't as important to have like all these extra scenes and extra plots and extra everything. Instead, he realized that the only thing that actually mattered was like having like the psychology of each of his characters like very well described for the reader to actually enjoy the novel in a more profound way. Another thing that I didn't really like about the novel was that the words made it so difficult. He created a language that he called NAFTA, and he is like using Nazi words or German words, and he didn't find, well, he uses them a lot in the novel. And in the version that I have, it doesn't have the translation of those words, and I had to search them in the internet, and it took some time for me. And well, to understand it, it was kind of difficult because he talks about eyeballs, he talks about the male genitalia, he talks about a lot of things, even violence, even fights, even fist bombs, or whatever, in this another language that doesn't even really exist. So it is so hard for the reader to understand those type of things. In the movie, he does it as well. Well, Kubrick did it like a less, well, if you have subtitles in the movie, you'll understand it, and maybe with the context you can understand it as well. And the images, like he talks about a fist fight and there's someone with a fist on it with and in the other word, so you actually get it. But on the novel, since it's your imagination, it is up to you to know if that's male genitalia or maybe he's talking about another thing. So another thing about the movie that is very different about the novel, because you can't hear anything in the novel unless you have like extra abilities to have like the ninth symphony in your head when you're reading it. Well, the direction and the music is very well, very specifically. Kubrick has like this ability to make everything just perfect, and he just does it his way, and the music and the direction and the post production seem so powerful. It is very attractive for the reader to actually understand that it is more complex how these alignments are in the movie, and I find that very interesting. Now we're gonna talk about some things about the novel and the movie as well. Well, it is very important to say that homogeny is the most important word that will describe the movie itself. It is very interesting. It is the power that another nation has over another, but it can also be like translated into subjects, and that makes the differences very clear. Like the movie goes around that very clearly. Another primary difference that I didn't found very interesting was that the mythical scene that I actually remember from being a child when they take this drug with their milk and they're driving through the wrong direction and everything, and it is pretty cool. Like this scene doesn't appear in the novel, and I find it very interesting and very important for to understand like the character's personality. Well, the book was real difficult to read for the words, and it is that is also noticeable in the movie. Other thing that I found interesting is that in the novel, Alex and his peeps, he they have like 20, 30 years old, or at least they appear to be. And in the movie, it is very clear that he is very young. He has 15-year-old. He's a 15-year-old boy. Another like very uh, like terrible thing that happened in the movie was that he had sex with, well, some girls that appeared to be very young because the way they were acting and what they were doing, that they were eating some lollipops. So in the movie, they appeared to be like 20, just like him, and they have sexual intercourse. While in the book, you understand that these ladies were actually 10-year-olds that he actually raped after and did like ultra violence on them and stuff. So that's like really tough. In the novel, well, the reason why he gets the Ludwig treatment, it is not because he gets chosen because he is like the more attractive subject for the treatment. It is more like he finds himself with his cellmates, and a new cellmate comes in, and he's a like kind of a pedophile, or at least a sexual invader, and he does that to him, and now he has to like defend himself, and everyone helps him. Like, yeah, what are you doing? No, like we're already here, like we're already having a bad time. Why are you making it more difficult for us? And they beat him to death, and they everyone says that it was his fault because he was like the one that had the main reason to do it, but he didn't actually kill him, and that's why he takes the treatment, not because he is like the chosen one for it. He is the one that had to live with the consequence of another guy killing a man. Another difference that isn't that important, but I got in the novel and the movie, was that when the policeman helped them from the homeless, first of all, on the movie it's the homeless man that they beat at the beginning, and in the movie as well, he is the homeless man that he helped, well, that he beat, the one that he asks him money, and then he recognizes him and he takes him to his other friends, and that leads to him for well that leads to a policeman helping him, and then it is actually Dim and Billy Boy in the novel. Well, so that makes the scene very different because at the beginning, well, in the book, it is they're actually in a library, so it is two random guys that just actually beat him because of his like way of being. And on the other scene, or in the movie, it's, well, Dim and his other friend, Georgie, and now is Billy Boy. And because of that, he received the beating as well from like the two sides. Like the first fight was Billy Boy, and the other guy just hates him. And then after that, he realizes on both the book and the movie that Billy Boy dies on a fight. So that makes it like very hard for him, and he's been having a very hard time. And that's when he gets to the guy that he left crippled house because he needed some help, and that's when Alex gets tortured with a 19th symphony, with a ninth symphony, and when he commits or tries to commit suicide, the afterwards, like the hospital, it is very different in both the movie and the novel. Another important thing to mention is that in the movie they mentioned that they were going to be like several weeks for him to do the Ludwig treatment, but in the novel it is actually like 15 consecutive days of two treatments a day, and they are very, very, very disgraceful. and we get to see like more harsh things like decapitations and dead woman and violations. That's more like in the movie and stuff. And yes, well, thank you very much, and that's it.